There's no way to sugarcoat this. Most self-published books, they vanish. They get buried on Amazon, never discovered, and never read. And that's what led me to this challenge. I decided to read 200 self-published novels in 1 year. I wanted to understand one thing. Why do so many good books go completely unnoticed? And what I found surprised me, because a lot of the books I read, they were great. They were emotional, they were smart, they were page turners, and yet they had no audience. Not because of bad writing, but because of 7 deadly mistakes. Avoidable ones, but they ruin your book before a reader ever gets to page 1. So let's talk about what they are. Mistake 1 is the cover catastrophe. This is the first red flag, and it's everywhere. About 80% of the books I read that weren't selling had covers that looked amateurish. I'm talking pixelated images, crooked titles, Comic Sans, stuff that screamed my cousin made this using PowerPoint. And it broke my heart because one of the best books I read in the whole project, a mind-blowing sci-fi novel, incredible concept, great writing, but the cover looked like a generic stock image of a robot with a title slapped on it. And I never would have picked up that book had I not been doing this challenge. Your cover isn't decoration. It's the first impression, and it tells readers what they're getting. It sets the tone. It also sets a standard for the quality. So if you want to fix it, hire a pro cover designer. Or if you can't afford that, study genre bestsellers like your book depends on it and learn how to use Photoshop. If you want someone to help you create a cover that captures people's attention, we can of course do that for you. Now, mistake number 2 is the blurb that buries you. Most blurbs that I read, they just don't sell the book at all. Instead, they recite facts, something like Sarah's a 28-year-old accountant with a cat, and that's not a blurb, that's, not even a LinkedIn bio really. And if you compare that to some family secrets are worth killing for, well, now I want to read more. You really have to think of your blurb as the movie trailer. It needs to have a compelling problem. It needs to have high emotional stakes, just enough mystery to make us curious. If your blurb reads like a summary, well, then you're not selling. What you're doing is spoiling. And of course, then you're going to be losing readers. Mistake number 3 is genre confusion. And here's where things get really messy. I saw authors throw romance, mystery, sci-fi, and literary fiction into the same book. Not to be creative, maybe because they thought more genres would equal more readers. But what actually happens is just everyone gets confused. Romance fans get mad, thriller fans don't stick around, and nobody feels like the book was for them. I read a cozy mystery that really I would classify as a dark psychological horror. It was great, but it was marketed completely wrong, and of course that backfired. And genre isn't a box. It's not there to confine your writing or your creativity. It's really just a promise to the reader that you will deliver on what they expect. And if you break that promise, then the readers will punish you. Now, if you want help figuring out your genre positioning or maybe reader targeting, that's exactly what we can do through our pre-publication consultation. It could save you months of confusion, missed sales, and ultimately having to republish your whole book because the first publication and launch didn't go well. So check out the links down below. Mistake number 4 is bad category placement. Amazon has thousands of categories, and most authors end up picking the wrong ones. I've seen debut authors launching their books into the same category as Stephen King. That's a bit like trying to enter Wimbledon after you've just had your first tennis lesson. And the smart authors, what they do is they start small. They pick micro categories that they could actually rank in. They then build reviews and they gain traction. And that's how they move up through the rankings. What Amazon's algorithm and any retailer's algorithm loves is momentum. And momentum starts when you stop trying to win the Olympics on day 1 and you stay focused on winning in your niche. Mistake number 5 is the broken sample. So everyone is familiar with the look inside feature on Amazon. That's sometimes the deal breaker moment. And because most authors botch this, they start with copyright page, dedication, and a prologue that doesn't add anything. And so by the time the reader gets to chapter 1, they're already gone. I saw one author do it right. She opened with a fast-paced action scene that she'd actually taken from chapter 3 and then added a note. Do you want to know how we got here? Well, then start at the beginning. And it worked because it hooked me. So your sample should grab the reader, show them the tone, the tension, and ultimately the reason to keep reading. And please proofread it, because typos on page 1 will kill trust instantly. Mistake number 6 is the price trap. And here's the brutal truth. Pricing your book at 99p or 99 cents doesn't help. It doesn't say great deal. It says this probably isn't worth reading. The authors that win at the pricing game, they price around £2.99 to $4.99. And you can just apply the same in dollars. I know a lot of my audience is US based as well as UK based. What it has to be is just high enough to signal value, but still low enough to be a risk readers are willing to take. And please, if you are a debut author with no reviews, don't charge £10 for your book. Don't try and compete with Colleen Hoover yet. You want to start small and then build your way up. As you get sales, as you get reviews, it's easy to do with print on demand. You can just up your price as you go. Now, mistake number 7 is the review desert. This really is the final death sentence for your book. If you have 0 reviews, there is 0 trust. And readers don't take chances on unproven books. And Amazon isn't going to promote you either. And the solution, please, I beg of you, is not fake reviews. That will just get your book banned. The solution is real relationships. The authors who succeed, they start months in advance building connection with book bloggers, ARC readers, and bookstagrammers. And ultimately, they launch then with 10 to 15 real reviews, and that makes all the difference. Reviews, they're not optional. They are the oxygen for your book. And it can be a lot of work, so we have services again where we can go out and find reviewers for your book. And we can do this once you've already launched, so we can resuscitate your book, as it were. I want to leave you with a final thought. I read 200 books last year, and here is ultimately what I learned. Writing the book isn't necessarily the hard part. Of course, editing is challenging, actually getting your thoughts out is challenging, but there's a huge amount of help out there. You know, we help people with this all the time, editing their books, publishing their books. But getting people to read it is equally as hard. And if your cover, blurb, genre, or positioning are off, well then you'll end up writing a masterpiece that no one ever finds. But the good news is all of this is fixable. Covers can be changed, blurbs rewritten, categories adjusted, and the authors who succeeded weren't necessarily the most talented, but they were the ones who treated publishing like a business. So if you want help launching your book the right way, well then check out the links down below so that you can work with me. I've seen what works and I know what kills momentum before it ever starts. So if this video saved you from one of those mistakes, then hit the like button, drop a comment down below, and YouTube will now be recommending another fantastic writing video of mine for you to watch just here. So go ahead and take a look at that one next.